Today, I want to share a thought with you. Every relationship in this world has an expiration date. I once came across a poignant observation. When children end friendships, they loudly proclaim, "I'm not playing with you anymore." But adults have a different way of ending relationships. No arguments, no questions, no explanations. Just a mutual understanding to no longer disturb each other's lives. Quietly, they step out of each other's world. This lack of confrontation is the ultimate form of dignity for adults. 1. Not turning hostile, the elegance of adulthood. I read a story on Jiu. Two girls, A and B, were close friends in university and shared a dorm room. A came from the city and had a well-off family, while B was from a rural area, short, chubby, and unaccustomed to city life. Despite their differences, they were inseparable. B was very considerate toward A, helping her clock in for class, buying her breakfast, and even carrying her heavy bags. In return, A would occasionally give B small gifts or treat her to meals. One day, A attended a classmate gathering alone. When someone asked why B wasn't there, A dismissively said, "This fancy restaurant requires us to split the bill. How could she afford it?" Worse, A shared embarrassing stories about B during the gathering, mocking her for being naive and overly helpful. When B found out, she was heartbroken but didn't confront A. Instead, she quietly changed dorm rooms and removed her from her circle. In life, we encounter people who hurt us and reveal their true selves. Rather than escalating conflicts, sometimes silent withdrawal is the kindest farewell. 2. Not questioning, a mark of maturity. Writer Harper Lee once had a like-minded companion. They bonded over their shared love of literature and often exchanged creative inspirations. When Harper Lee gained fame with To Kill a Mockingbird, her friend grew jealous, spreading rumors that the novel was his work. Though deeply hurt, Harper Lee didn't retaliate or argue. Instead, she moved to a small, quiet town and never spoke of her friend again. As adults, we sometimes see someone's true nature in an instant. Though surprising, it's rarely worth the trouble to confront them. Instead of getting caught up in resentment, it's better to gracefully walk away. Leave the past behind and continue your journey. It's the best closure for both sides. 3. Not disturbing, the final act of kindness. Someone once asked online, "What should I do if someone doesn't reply to my messages?" A poignant response. Remember this, never bother them again. Recently, I found an old photo from my university days and sent it to my best friend from that time. I expected her to excitedly reminisce with me and plan a reunion. But she didn't reply. Later, I saw her social media updates. Her life was in chaos, her child was sick, her elderly parents were hospitalized, her salary had been cut, and her husband's department was downsizing. In that moment, I understood. Life had weighed her down so heavily that she no longer had the energy to respond to my nostalgia. I didn't like or comment on her post because I knew she wouldn't want her wounds to be publicly observed. As adults, farewells often happen without words. I didn't send another message, and she didn't follow up. Quietly, we disappeared from each other's lives. The older we get, the more we understand. Life is busy, and everyone has their own battles. The kindest thing we can do is respect each other's space. Reflections on love and loss. Falling in love can happen in an instant. But forgetting someone is a long and painful process. Some loves remain unfulfilled. Some people are meant to stay in our hearts, but not in our lives. Sometimes, true love is about letting go. Not contacting them, not disturbing them. Simply wishing them well from a distance. For those of us who carry these unspoken feelings, perhaps the deepest confession is to quietly think of them for a lifetime. In the end, love is not about possession. It's about cherishing the memories and continuing our journey with grace.
Many times, we think goodbyes require a grand ceremony. But more often, farewells happen quietly, without fanfare. Every relationship in the world has an expiration date. The best way to end a relationship is to let all the love, hatred, and grievances be carried away by the wind. Some say you can judge if a relationship will last a lifetime, or if a person is worth befriending, by borrowing money. In our view, when someone is willing to lend us money, it shows they care about us and value our feelings. Such people are worth maintaining a connection with. But if someone is unwilling to lend us money or help us, it means they don't care about our feelings. And there's no need to maintain a relationship with such people. That's why, many times, when someone refuses to lend us money, we choose to sever ties, never to interact again. Some people are not even close enough to discuss money. Recently, I saw a question online. I urgently need money to make a down payment, but my friend refuses to lend it to me. Does this mean I shouldn't bother maintaining contact with them anymore? I was shocked when I saw this. Borrowing money isn't something everyone is obligated to do. If your relationship hasn't reached that level, why should they lend you money? Some people might not have the funds on hand. Should they borrow money themselves just to lend it to you? Borrowing money between friends is about mutual assistance, not emotional blackmail. When it becomes a form of coercion, it loses its meaning. Friendships have layers. Some relationships are close enough to discuss money, others are not. For those we aren't close enough with, trust hasn't been fully established yet. In such cases, asking for money is awkward, and even if the other person has the means, they'll consider the risks of lending it. Never test relationships with money. Not all relationships can withstand such tests. Some will end in misunderstanding and separation. It's important to realize that sometimes people genuinely have their own difficulties. A friend once asked to borrow a small amount from me. But at that time, I truly couldn't spare the money. I had mortgage payments, car loans, tuition fees for my child, and credit card bills to manage. After paying for all these, I had very little left. When I explained this to my friend, I thought they'd understand. Instead, they seemed upset, and after that, they stopped talking to me entirely. Recently, I found out they had even blocked me. Sometimes, a relationship isn't about money. If someone doesn't lend you money, it might not be because they're unwilling, but because they simply can't. In the adult world, everyone has their struggles. Most people won't share their difficulties, they just endure them silently. When someone doesn't lend you money, it doesn't always mean they don't want to, they might genuinely be unable to. Some can't lend because they're powerless. Borrowing money usually involves someone's disposable income, money they don't urgently need. But in today's society, people face immense financial pressure, mortgage payments, car loans, living expenses, and childcare costs. Even if someone appears well off, they may still be struggling. As the writer Liu Liangqing said, "The snow that falls on a person's life is not something we can fully see. Everyone endures their own winter in solitude. Just because someone seems polished and successful doesn't mean they're not dealing with difficulties. They may not share these challenges because talking about them won't solve anything. So, when someone refuses to lend you money, it might not be a matter of unwillingness, but of powerlessness. Don't use money to test humanity. Too many people try to test relationships with money. They believe that if someone lends them money, it proves they are true friends. In reality, even the strongest relationships can change when money is involved. If you value a relationship, it's best not to ask that person for money. Today, borrowing money has become a sensitive issue. When you need help, people might politely agree and promise to repay. But when you try to borrow, you're often met with excuses or avoidance. Sometimes, asking for money even turns you into an enemy in their eyes. Everyone faces financial struggles at some point. The people willing to lend you money during your tough times are truly your benefactors. They trust you enough to help, even though money is hard-earned for everyone. They prioritize your relationship over their own financial comfort. Respect people's choices. However, don't resent those who refuse to lend you money. Remember, no one is obligated to do so. You don't always know the hardships they've faced or the efforts behind their wealth. Sometimes, it's not about the world being unfair, it's about your lack of effort. Opportunities for wealth often arise, but only those prepared and diligent can seize them. The saddest thing isn't being broke, it's knowing you're unhappy but refusing to work harder. Relying on others, constantly borrowing, and exhausting relationships will only lead to chaos in your life. True friendship needs no tests. As Takeshi Kitano once said in his bar, the very thought of expecting something from friendship is wrong. True friends won't trouble others when they're in need. Sometimes, even when a friend can't help you, they remain true to you. Learn to understand and respect their choices. Not every relationship is ready for financial discussions. Thank you for reading today's sharing. If you enjoy the Buddha Zen Wisdom, don't forget to subscribe and share. Here, you'll never feel alone.